Well, this week, Dude told us to watch a very specific movie, and we actually did listen to him.
Have you seen the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
We have.
We have? We want to tell you about it. You might not have heard of it, but it's worth a look. Stay tuned.
Two guys talking, saying anything, nothing new to say, talking anyway. Start yammering, can't hear a thing, nothing I can do. So let's have one more brew. One more brew. Let's have one more brew. One more brew. Stop talking, try listening, try anything, try whistling. There you go again, saying anything, nothing I can do. So let's have one more brew. One more brew. Let's have one more brew. One more brew.
That's Dude.
That's Dude.
And welcome to Lazyboys Night.
Ah, yeah.
All right, what are we drinking tonight? Oh, this looks good.
Looks very pale.
Yeah, well, it's the Burst New England Style Pale Ale from Great Lakes Brewery.
Burst.
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 You know what? I'm reminded of. Have you ever watched the Great Canadian Baking Contest?
No.
It's actually kind of fun. It's good. But there's one of the judges. He's French. And the first few seasons, he stopped doing it because I think people were making fun of him too much. But he always tastes something because it's bursting with flavor. To the point where, as a family, if it were a drinking game, you'd be like hammered. It's every time he says bursting.
Bursting,
So he stopped
yeah.
after a few seasons because he was probably called on it. But this is what it reminds me of. Anyways, I digress. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, I like it.
It's good. I don't think it's bursting with flavor, but I think it's very
No,
nice.
I think it's
It's
very
it's
nice
it's very
beer.
smooth.
Yeah.
It's very smooth. It's not
This
too
is
bitter.
a patio beer.
Yes.
100%
yeah.
patio beer.
You want something a little light, not too robust, not too bitter, not too fruity, just a nice and smooth and
Weekend
calming.
afternoon on a patio. Boom. Get a burst.
A satisfying burst.
Yeah, it's
We'll
very
call-
nice.
we'll call it,
burst.
yeah, very
Good
nice.
job, Great
All right.
Lakes.
So,
Mm. What?
I want to get to this because I'm excited about this movie.
Well, it was a great request. Thank you. We've been looking for. Well, I know I'll speak for myself. You can chime in, obviously, because it's your show too. But I've been looking for an actual film where I was entertained and there was no messaging, no ideology,
No agenda to be pushed.
Just a fun, action-packed movie that I could just enjoy. And you found one.
But I will say as a side note,
But
while
where
there's
can
no
we
agenda.
find it?
Oh, yeah, okay. So two things.
That's
First
the
of all,
thing.
I'd never heard of this film before. In case you missed it in the intro, it's the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Here's the full title, folks.
Yes,
Just so
and
you
it
know what
stars
is.
big names. Are basically Henry Cavill,
Yeah.
Alan Richardson, Cary Elwes, and a bunch of other very talented people.
Yeah.
It's only on streaming. It's only on Prime.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
you know how Netflix makes their own exclusives, Disney does, Prime does too. So if you don't have those streaming services, I gotta say that always annoys me. You don't hear these films. And it's too bad because there's a lot of great movies. Now, talking about what you said before, no agenda, no nothing. Interesting because this film, I mean, obviously there's some cinematic liberties here, but it's
Yeah,
based on
You want the
a
want the
true
movie to be
story.
exciting, right?
It's based on a true story.
During what period?
During World War II. And it says at the beginning,
WW2, folks,
it
where
says
the
at the
best
beginning,
movies happen.
That's right. It's based on real facts, based on archives that were sealed. The seals were lifted only in 2016. And these are directly from the private notes of Sir Winston Churchill.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is
the
how
Prime Minister had his own personal diary on activities that were going on, and they were sealed away, like you mentioned. And this was an awesome discovery, an awesome story that went on that nobody knew about.
Now, without giving away much, we can set it up because this is right from the start. This is one of those unsanctioned, unofficial missions. If you are caught, you will be disavowed.
Yeah.
You will be thrown in jail if you're caught by our side. If you're caught by the other side, you will be tortured and killed. You are on your own, but the fate of the war could hang in balance here. And so these crazy soldiers who are basically trouble for everybody else.
Yeah, but even just
on this mission.
Just the beginning of it to me, I absolutely adore.
The ship is brilliant.
So everything so we're gonna be talking about this. Obviously, this episode is gonna be dedicated to this movie, but to me, it's a classic style film where you have this ragtag team of hyper
violent.
Well, yeah, there's the hyper violence of it, but I mean, this team have their specialties. That's what I love, when you have somebody that has their specialty and they're pulled in for.
Oh yeah.
But when the leader of the team says, "Okay, I can do this for you, but here's the thing: is I need my own team, and I'm going to pick who I know belongs in this team, and how he picks them, and who they are." And their skill set.
It's got the makings of your classic Mission Impossible kind of feel, but the thing is, these are actual historical events.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I'm sure they're somewhat exaggerated for the movie.
There's some liberties, artistic
but
liberties.
Nonetheless, this was a real mission where these soldiers went, and literally the fate of naval warfare depended on this mission succeeding or not. And had they failed, we could all be wearing lederhosen and eating sausage right now.
Because the big thing is a big part of World War II, the battles, a lot of them, which most people don't realize, were happening in the oceans, right?
Oh yeah.
So out at sea,
the Germans ruled. They had what they call the U-boats, which are submarines.
Was huge, where they're just. Yeah. And they were sinking ship after ship. Then you couldn't care less. There's like ship after ship after
warships and supply lines, and everything was being disrupted by the German U-boats.
But these U-boats would just come up, get supplied, go back down, right? So that part of the story is really important to everything that was going on at that period. And it's like, okay, what do we do with these guys? Because they're unstoppable at this point. It's like, we got to find that clink, that part in the chainmail. We got to get in there, right? And just the characters, phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
phenomenal. The acting, phenomenal. The action, phenomenal. And we're gonna oversell this. Why? Because it's
enjoyable.
Fantastic
So
film.
Before we get into the characters, I want to point out one thing that to me appealed a lot too. Is while it's action packed, and okay, sometimes the gunfights might seem a little like, well, these guys are really good shots and they never get hit. But nonetheless,
that was still awesome.
That was still awesome.
That was a classic Western kind of thing.
The thing I liked is when they're in actual hand-to-hand combat, it didn't feel like today's action films where everybody's a mega martial artist and they can go on for hours jumping and flipping and kicking and never being winded. These are brawlers. These are guys, I mean, especially the Alan Ritchson character, who's like, he'll grab a knife and he'll just and just
like that.
Exactly. He just starts pounding with whatever instruments are there, and it's not about skilled martial arts. It's about fearless brute force, and where everybody else is like, oh my god, I mean, he's just hacking and pounding. So it's just it actually felt somewhat credible for a fight scene because these are not super ninjas.
No,
these are just brawlers.
He's massive.
Alan Ritchson,
right?
if you don't know him, he's the lead in Reacher.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's a big dude. So you can imagine this guy, and his skill set is as a hunter, right? And he hunts. But if you have issues with hyper violence, don't bother.
No.
Don't even bother.
It's not that it's particularly gory. It's not the hyper violence with the gore, but it is violent.
It is very violent because that moment in time and their mission and what they had to go through the only way to survive was to actually be
Kill or be
more
killed.
violent than them. So they had to dominate in every situation, in every confrontation. They had to dominate. So that violence, if it was like an older movie, they could have panned away and you would have seen shadows and stuff. No, they're right there. The camera's right on the violence. So, and it's real violence, and it's if you don't have the stomach for it, don't watch it. But if you're willing to go through it, understanding that this is portrayed as best they can, that perfect little balance between fiction and reality, they balance that so well.
They did. And you know, it's the truth is they're fighting a war, and if they don't do this, our side could lose the war. So it's just crazy.
And the characters too. What's fantastic about it is their main drive is not for crown and country. It's not for the greater. There is a greater good part of it, but for them,
they hate Nazis.
Just simple like that. And they are winners, right? So regardless of what they do in life, either they just want to be winners. Their own drive is what drives the entire team and the entire mission, which is something we very rarely see. And they're portrayed as actual men.
Yes.
They're not.
Well, they're based on real people.
Yeah, but and they're not little crybabies or super emotional or whatever. These, like, back in the day,
they are a man's man. They are veterans at war, and they understand that it's kill or be killed, and they have no compunction about it. They'll just boom. It's you or me. It's gonna be you.
No.
That's it, and I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. Now, I want to talk about a few characters in particular.
Okay.
But leading up to the characters, one thing that's interesting is one of the characters in the film, a supporting character, not one of the leads, is Ian Fleming. If the name sounds familiar, Ian Fleming is the creator and author of James Bond and all the James Bond books, the original books. If you didn't know a historical fact, Ian Fleming actually worked for the British government in the military and was actively involved in World War II. And his James Bond character is inspired by an amalgamation of different people he met during the war, one of which is Gus March Phillips, played by Henry Cavill. So the lead star in this film is one of the actual inspirations for James Bond. And you see he interacts with Ian Fleming because they met in real life, these two people. So let's talk about Gus. Cool. So let's talk about Gus March Phillips here.
He is an interesting character, to say the least. And when I was talking about the fact that, like, a man's man, and you got to think how the British way, even more so back in World War II at that time and up to very recently and probably still today, is very straight, composed,
stiff upper lip,
right?
Queen and country,
be in control all the time, and you're doing things for the greater good, but for yourself, a proper gentleman. But he is supposed to be a proper gentleman, but he has that little conniving side to him.
He's got that little...
There's this scene when he's first brought in to explain what the mission will be. And folks...
The cigars.
So I was going to say, just pay attention. Okay, not just to the conversation that's going on. Watch his actions when he goes to the minibar. Just pay attention to that. And that is such an awesome window into his personality.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're going, okay, you're going to bleep this out, but he just doesn't give no
No. It's just, I'm going to get away with this because what are you going to do about it?
So, the sheer amount of confidence.
Oh, my God.
And he's so... He's the gentleman that is not a gentleman, but oh my God, it's just...
He knows what he's good at. He knows what he can get away with.
But it's that
and
level
he doesn't
of confidence
care.
That it's unreal.
And it's interesting because we're used to seeing Henry Cavill as Superman.
Yeah.
Or, you saw him in like one of the Mission Impossibles. It was there. He's all these. He's usually big,
played,
clean cut
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. He's usually clean cut action guy, Boy Scout, or clean cut sophisticated villain. Now he's like rough and tumble. Again, like you said, no to give.
Yeah.
And that little roguish aspect. One of
his mustache, man.
Oh, his mustache.
I love his mustache. Holy freak, that was awesome.
With the coat.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. It's just. it was a very, very
Yeah.
fun play, I'm sure,
Yeah.
for Henry Cavill to play,
Ah.
but also a really interesting character. And when you find out this is based, because watch the credits till the end
Right.
after, because they actually show the pictures of the real characters and what they accomplished afterwards during the war, and all the commendations these guys had, and all the crazy missions they went on. And these are legit heroes who pulled off stuff most people wouldn't even dream of.
So when Henry Cavill showed up in this film, and the character he played, how well he played it,
Oh yeah.
and you completely forget everything else he's ever played before.
You're not watching Superman.
I completely forgot everything else. This could have been his very first film.
Yeah.
And Hollywood and the world would lose their mind going,
Who's
Who
this
is this guy?
Yeah.
I want him in my next movie.
Yeah.
Even if he wasn't known at all, if this was like his first movie out, holy frick, man, he'd be rocking it to the
He broke out of whatever mold you would think he's in,
Yeah.
and he played it beautifully.
Yeah.
Now there's another character I want to bring up, but I think I want you to talk about it more, because this is a subject matter that's come up in a lot of films. There is a character called Marjorie Stewart, who is the main female character in the film, played by Elsa Gonzalez.
She does
played
a phenomenal
beautifully.
job.
But please tell us why she is so phenomenal as a character and an actress.
Yeah, so this character, I feel like, again, Hollywood listened to us, or
Maybe.
when we've been talking about for probably since we've been on air for the last 3 years, but even more so in the last year specifically, how Hollywood is unable or unwilling to, or don't have the skill set to write proper female characters and character development, but to have them as what is a strong female character?
They would often make basically a guy character, but
Yeah.
let's just turn him into a girl, and you didn't believe it because this is not a woman. This
No.
is a guy who looks like a woman. This character here, Marjorie
Holy
Stewart,
frick, that's what we've been talking about.
this is a powerful woman, but she's all woman.
You want to see, if you just want to see what we've been talking about, the difference between this character and this actress in this role, her skill set, her intellect, her beauty,
her wit, her everything.
Everything.
This is a strong,
so believable,
powerful. Oh yeah.
But it's
Love her.
believable, and she's a very likable, lovable character.
At
You
the end,
cheer
she's
for her.
still
You
a woman,
yes.
but you're like, this is what a strong woman is. She's smart, she's witty, she's confident, she's a crack shot. All skills that are not gender based.
No, and
but
she
the problem
realizes-
is, so many women characters are not written as a gender. They're just written as a set of skills. She's still written as a
Yeah.
woman who has these skills, and it's beautiful.
And her job is when she goes in, please go watch it.
Oh.
But her whole thing is that she's not going in to beat the crap out of the guys
No.
physically or to demean them or to whatever. She is playing based on her, and she's also in.
She's a spy.
She's a spy / an actress in this film. So all of that skill set that she's accumulated through the years, you feel it. Like even if you've just met her, when they describe her, when you meet her, you actually do feel, okay, I see that this person has experience.
Oh, yeah. I want
was-
her on my team.
I was completely sold on her experience, and I was completely sold on, based on her experience and her skill set, her confidence came out. And I was like, holy frick, this is awesome. And the way she played, how she can manipulate the bad guys.
Oh.
And
Masterful.
She's not, at no point she's condescending. No point is she arrogant.
No.
No point, none of that disgusting freaking things we've been seeing in movies in the last few years. This is how a proper, strong female role should be written, should be played, and should be portrayed. So bravo on that. If nothing else in this film, even if everything was complete garbage, if that was the only redeeming quality of this movie, it is still worth watching.
Fortunately, there's so much more that's redeeming as well.
Yeah.
So seriously, I like I said, I hadn't even heard of it till dude said, watch this.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. It's on Prime. Do you have Prime? Yes, I do. Watch it. Huh. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is cool. Oh, wow. Oh, really? Oh, gee. Oh, wow. And that's
It
the
just
whole
keeps getting
movie.
like the whole movie just keeps getting better and better and
And
better.
then at the end, you
meet all these other interesting characters, and they're not just played for no good reason. They're actually, and I know because it is based on historical, part historical fact, some of it artistic or licenses, but still, these people in the great majority were real. So yeah, they already do have a background, but the way they were introduced and their roles, and even if there's certain people that were brought onto the mission later on, and even them as characters, they were strong male characters,
defined,
and it was like with personality and the respect between the. I was just, oh my god, the writing of this film.
Yeah. So,
and the direction of it, and you know what? Guy Ritchie
directed this.
is one of my favorite directors and writers, and I'm so happy that he's actually the one that is in charge of this film, that put that film out there, that directed the film. I'm not even sure if he wrote it, but from the past, I'm
you
pretty
can
sure.
put that down. Who wrote this?
Yeah, thanks. I'm sure if he's not the writer, he's one of the writers because that's his style.
Mm-hmm.
But he went out of his comfort zone. But it was still a Guy Ritchie film because he's huge on character development, right? It's always plot and character driven, not movie driven, and not just for the sake of it. There's a reason behind it. So Guy Ritchie did a fantastic job.
So here's to Guy Ritchie. Here's to all the other writers. Here's to the entire cast and crew.
Yeah, you did
Everybody did a fantastic job. If you like it, you haven't watched it yet. So first of all, subscribe and like and share this.
And that's
then go on Prime and watch that movie.
Yeah, that is the in French we call it le coup de cœur.
Yes.
So that is right now as we speak. It's my movie of the year. It's phenomenal.
See you next Thursday.
Cheers to you. We'll see you next time.